Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mason here, back here with a random video, you would probably think, but today I'm doing a tier list video of WWE soundtracks. Now, the main part about WWE games is not just the gameplay. People think, oh, it's the gameplay. It's always been about the menu music. Now, I'm a lad who started playing it. My first ever SmackDown vs. Raw game was SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. I played that. That was my first ever game, and it was just back then the soundtracks were like killing it. It's just, everyone used to load on SmackDown vs. Raw for the soundtracks. These days it's not so much, and we'll get onto it right now. And we haven't done a tier list for a while, but this is a video I've been wanting to do for a couple of days now, because you know, SmackDown vs. Raw, I have some SmackDown vs. Raw songs that I've downloaded from old games into my soundtracks, and a couple from maybe TK games, but that's why we're going to be ranking right now. So starting off from SmackDown, so we got the list: banger, great. Banger means we're going to put bangers, which means they just had bangers. Basically, it was just the GOAT. Basically, great is great soundtrack with some great songs, maybe a couple iffies. Okay is okay. Then we've got bad but not trash. Basically, it's not trash, but it's not great either. And then you've got trash, which is the worst one. So let's get on with it. So SmackDown vs. Raw 2005. Now I'm trying to think. Falling Apart and When Worlds Collide was the two of the best songs in my opinion. But besides that, I would probably say it's great. I'd say it's okay. I would say it's okay. For the first soundtrack, it's decent, but I don't think it's as good as the other ones that we'll be mentioning later on. So yeah, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. I think that's a great soundtrack. I think it was, it had Megadeth, Sympathy of Destruction, which was a remix version, but it's still Megadeth. And I'm a big Megadeth fan. I love Sympathy of Destruction. Waiting But Not Forgetting is a great one. And Broken Fireball, I think, is another great song. And the rest of the songs are pretty decent. And this is what I like about SmackDown vs. Raw. It literally had bangers after bangers. It just at least had one banger in a soundtrack. And these days it's just hard to get. And next up, it's got to be a banger, in here. It's got to be a banger. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 has got to be. It's my favourite game. It's the best game in my opinion, and it's the best soundtrack. You know, just loading onto the menu. Animal I've Become by 3 Day Grace is a brilliant song. Riot is a great song. Stitches, Money in the Bank. Oh, that should be a Money in the Bank song, pay-per-view song. What else? I'm trying to. There's loads. There's just loads. I Ain't Your Savior. There's just loads. Like, search up SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. You will never get tired of it. It's such a banger. SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. It's a controversial one, but I actually am going to put another banger. 2 in a row. I think it was I thought it was a good soundtrack, actually. Famous was great. Feed, I think it was by Feed. There was just loads of soundtrack. Well Enough Alone, that's a great one. It's just a banger. I think it's a great soundtrack. I think there's a song called Famous on there. Once you listen to Famous, you will get goosebumps. It gives you goosebumps. It gives you nostalgic. It's not as good as SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. I don't think any of the soundtracks will beat this, but it's a banger. It's full of bangers. SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, probably going to be great. I think it's a bit of a downgrade. Egyptian, You Make Me Sick and Taking You Down by Egyptian Century, I believe. They're a great band. I love those songs. I think Disturb also made it to a thing. So it was a decent soundtrack. I think this was, you know, a really terrible game, but had a decent soundtrack, and I think it was a great soundtrack, actually. SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, I'm going to put in banger. Skillet. What a band. Sick Puppies, oh man. This was the last ever SmackDown vs. Raw with soundtracks on, and it did not disappoint me one bit. It was a banger. It had so much bangers in it. Didn't have as much as the other SmackDown vs. Raw, but it just, it's amazing. And then we've got these ones, which Didn't even have soundtracks. Do you know what? SmackDown vs. Raw is actually not going to trash. Because there was a couple WWE... Because since 2011, there wasn't really soundtracks, unfortunately. Yeah, these are going to have to go in trash, innit? Because, actually, no, this one's actually going to go in not. Because the thing is, it had two good songs. The Cody Rhodes song and the Drew McIntyre song gave me goosebumps. So that's why I'm not putting it in trash. But these, though, trash. No Mercy, I haven't listened to No Mercy, so that's why I'm not rating No Mercy. So if you guys are wondering why you're not putting No Mercy on, because I'm not. Because No Mercy. But the other two I'm not putting on. Because, yeah, I only got nostalgic from SmackDown, which is a bit weird, but yeah. SmackDown vs. Raw 2015. Really bad, not trash. I wasn't a big fan of the soundtrack. I'm glad they brought it back, but John Cena, mate, you need better music taste, bro. Wild Ones by Flo Rida. I'm sick of it. By that point, I was sick of listening to it. Emily Sunday. The only band I like. I'm a rock guy. Listen, I'm a heavy metal guy. I'm a rock guy. I like old school pop. These type of pops into a thing. Wiz Khalifa, yo, kind of. I didn't mind the Wiz Khalifa one because that actually kind of fit into the game. It was not too bad, Wiz Khalifa. But the one band that saved this for me to putting it in trash was Avenged Sevenfold. Hail to the King. This means war. No, not Hail to the King. This means war. Sorry. That song is a banger. I love that band. I love that song. It's one of my favourite songs to work out in the gym. That saved it from putting it in trash. TK16. I actually like TK16 soundtrack. Do you know what? It was actually great. Great soundtrack, actually. Never will beat the SmackDown vs. Raw. No. But, it was a good soundtrack. I can't remember the name. Stone Cold picks Marlon Manson, and I think that Marlon Manson song's pretty decent. Revolution's another good song. I can't remember. Is it Billy Idol? Great singer, had a great song, and there's some good variety of songs in there. And I think it was a good soundtrack, and I think it was a lot more better for me because I'm a more rock guy. It had some rock in there, which was quite good, old school rock, which was great. But then it had some good hip hop songs actually, so I'm gonna put it in great. CK17. Now that's gonna be controversial. I'm gonna put it okay. Two songs maybe saved it for me putting it bad, but not trash. Look, I'm not a big fan of rap. I'm not a rap guy. So for me personally, this was not my soundtrack. I'm not a rap guy. If you want to make your list, go ahead because that's your list, isn't it? You know, that's your list. But I think it was okay. We got Black Sabbath, Paranoid. I am a massive Black Sabbath fan, and having Black Sabbath in the game was brilliant. And then we had 21 Pilots. I can't remember the song. But search it up. It's a great song. That's the only 21 Pilots a song, and I think Bring Me Horizon's not a bad thing, but I'm not the biggest fan of Bring Me Horizon. I'm going to be completely honest. So it's an okay soundtrack for what it is, for an okay, maybe average game. TK18 is going to go okay, but I think it's going to be above these soundtracks. Personally, for me, two songs again saved this. The rest of the songs were pretty poor. But I'll tell you what. N-Tech 64, whatever his name is. Straight Out the Hell of Gaze is a brilliant song. I'm not a big fan of the rap Verity, but that was a great song. Straight Out Gaze, TK18. Brilliant. And also it was collaborated with Serj Titani. I can't pronounce his last name. He's the lead singer for System of a Down, basically, and he's the singer of my favourite band of all time, System of a Down. So it was great to have him in the game too. But most importantly, Disturbed Down with the Sickness in TK18 was a mad one. I think that's underrated song in the TK soundtrack. People completely forgot about Disturbed. Like, I'm sitting here like, hold on a minute. People forgot that Disturbed were in the game. That's ridiculous because that's one of the most biggest songs ever and one of the most popular songs they've ever done. So, besides with probably that ballad song, I keep forget. I'm sorry, guys. I can't. By the time I'm recording this, I cannot forget. I'm not in that. I'm not in that thinking mood today. So, yeah. But it's an okay soundtrack for what it is. Again. But yeah, TK19. I think that was a great soundtrack. Metallica. I love Metallica. Spit Out the Bone. Ah, that's a brilliant song. Love that song. We had Post Malone. That was I like that song. That's actually a decent song. Blow My Mind was probably the most annoying song that Daniel Bryan picked, but I actually didn't mind it. And yeah, there's just a variety of songs I love on there. And yeah, I think it's a great soundtrack. I think TK19 is a great game, banger of a game with a great soundtrack. But again, I don't think TK. The thing about TK games is they've got a couple good songs. They just haven't got the variety or maybe the most bangers. SmackDown versus Raw. So yeah, TK20 for me was a terrible game with an okay soundtrack. I think it's better than TK18. I don't think it's as good as people think, but it's okay. I think Poppy had one good song. I don't like her. I'm not a big fan of her. I'm going to be completely honest with her. I'm not a big fan of her variety, but one of her songs she did, was it Rockstar or something, was a decent song. But most importantly of all, Motley Crue. Motley Crue was in the sound. The Dirt. I'm a big fan of Motley Crue too. You know, I know Metallica and Motley Crue hate each other, but I love both songs. You know, I'm a big heavy metal rock guy. You know what I mean? That's how I am. So it was great to have Motley Crue, and I was playing that song every day on the soundtrack. So I think it was an okay soundtrack for me personally, but it wasn't. It's not gonna be great. TK22. Besides Motorhead, it's gonna be bad, not trash. I think it's better than TK15, but I don't think I really like the soundtrack. I think besides Motorhead, I'm really not huge into the soundtrack. I don't think there's any of that. It doesn't give me any nostalgic. It doesn't give me that feels. I think the only one that does is Motorhead. I love Motorhead. Obviously, if you don't know who Motorhead is, you clearly do know because you obviously listen to the game Triple H and Evolution theme song. I did not like the soundtrack, and that's a bit weird me saying because I love the game. The game's a banger. I probably wouldn't say banger because it's a bit boring, but it's a great game. It's a improvement to TK20. But listen, I know some people are not going to agree, but this is what I'm going to have to. This is what I'm putting. You know. So, this is what I think the list is. So, obviously, the best soundtrack is SmackDown vs. Raw. I think the worst soundtrack, these lot, you can put in whatever order because they're not really a soundtrack. But in terms of official soundtracks, probably TK15 is the worst, in my opinion, because of one song and maybe one other okay song. But has there ever been all bad songs? No. There's actually, surprisingly, if you're going to ask me if there's been any, have all the songs been bad in one game? Not really. I don't think any. TK15 had one good song. TK22 had Motorhead, and then you had TK17 who had two good songs, actually, I think. And then, yeah, these had two good songs. I think what I've done is put them in order of how much songs I listen to and how much songs I like. This is what I've done. So that's what I've done right now. I put TK15 because there was only one good song I like, and then there was one okay song maybe. SmackDown vs. Raw 2000. People are going to think, why are you putting that? I'm going to switch it, though. I'm going to switch it, but because of Cody Rhodes, it's that Cody Rhodes theme song that saves it for putting it trash. Listening to the Cody Rhodes theme, the Dashing Cody Rhodes theme song just gives me nostalgic. I don't know why, guys. It gives me nostalgic, alright? But yeah, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. What a banger. What a banger. It's one of my favourite soundtracks of all time and one of my favourite games. And yeah, I've got to put it right at the top of bangers. Well, 3 of them are main bangers. So, pretty good list actually. A really good list. 3 So yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, peace out.